Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and today we have another amazing guest for you guys in our quest of doing daily podcasts, bringing you guys conversations around death, dying, and grief. And you guys already know how we do it. We dive deep. We go into people's stories. So be sure to get your questions and your comments ready for my next guest. You know, she's amazing, has an amazing journey, and she does some amazing work for you guys. And so now, before I bring her up here, I would like to just say that if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But also, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. Now, without further ado, you guys help me welcome my next guest, Shay. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I feel comfortable already, like I'm at home.
Yeah, you got your lighting going on, you know. You ain't got to worry about nobody getting on me or anything like that.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So now, before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Okay, no problem. So my name is Shay Cannon. I'm an award-winning fractional chief operating officer with an exclusive clientele of 6- and 7-figure CEOs. However, I use my superpowers to position Black and brown women that are service-based online business owners, and I help them to make the money and create time freedom, because my freedom looks like living and working my business from anywhere in the world. I'm currently in Mexico. Oh, this side, Mexico. But soon I'll be going on a year-long tour of Southeast Asia. So I'm all about that freedom.
I love that. I love that. Now, uh, wow, yeah, I told you I'm living vicariously through you right now, you know, because you're going to be
Come
going to
on.
Asia. And we talked the last time. I said, I got to get you on the show before you go through Asia, because you're going to
Yeah,
be over there getting into all
I'm
kinds
ready.
of stuff. I can
I'm ready.
already see it right now. You know, we didn't let Shay loose over in Southeast Asia. They ain't ready for that.
Yes, they not ready. Mm-mm.
So now tell people about your story. Walk people through your journey about how you became who you are today.
Okay. So I am from Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama is where I grew up. And my heavy influence for entrepreneurship was my grandmother. She started me off early in middle school. She had me selling candy. And, I learned some of my favorite business lessons while in middle school selling candy. So, she bought the candy. I was supposed to sell it, but I ate it. So I learned, don't get high off your own supply. Learned that one early. And then, I finally sold all the candy, but then I spent all my money. So that's when I learned the difference between revenue and profit, right? Because you got to reinvest in your business if you want to stay in business. So I
Mhm.
learned a lot of lessons then. But, I feel like I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me. And so I believed that you were supposed to go to school, get a degree, get a good job. And then, when you old as I don't know what, is when you finally get to do what you want to do. But that just wasn't working for me, right? So I did those things. Made it from Alabama to Georgia, the Black Mecca. Was working for a law firm that was like a Fortune 500 law firm over there in Buckhead. Had the mini mansion in Marietta, and recognized that, I was late every day because I didn't know what time I was going to get off work. So, I was rebellious. I'm going to come in late with the Chick-fil-A and the Starbucks, check my
Mm.
email and go in the break room and eat, because I don't know what time I'm getting off. And I'm recognizing that, I'm finally making the money, but I don't have the freedom to spend it on all the things I wanted to spend it on. And so I had to come to realize that, these jobs, and even when you have a business, it's supposed to fund your life. It's not supposed to be your life, right? It just didn't sit well with me. And even though my grandmother was an educator, she had a love of entrepreneurship. Now, she didn't quite do it right. She would buy real estate and let family live in the houses. So, she wasn't collecting no rent. She wanted to have a thrift store. So she bought a commercial building, but it ended up being like a storage unit. But I learned that, there's a right way and a wrong way to do business. And so
Right.
when I decided to leave corporate America, and get into business, I decided to start with an education to understand the dynamics of business. And when I got out there and did it and got that experience, it was great. Now, what I will tell you is, even though my life is, I started in Belize and then I was in Mexico and then I went to Argentina living my life, my grandmother wasn't too keen on that. When I hit Mexico, she was like, wait a minute now. Because at the time, Trump was in office like he is right now. But back then, he was talking about building a wall. And my grandmother wasn't for that, building a wall. She was like, baby, I don't know. You might need to stay home. Trump talking about he finna build a wall. And so, I had to tell her that Southwest fly over walls every day, Nana. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Right. And so I got into this life and it was great. However, I lost my grandmother in August of this past year. And so I'm thankful that I've been able to travel with her. I've been able to, she came here to visit me in February of last year, so about a year ago. And so I'm grateful for all of those times. But if we want to get into this grief thing, then what I want to tell you is my grieving was a little different, right? Like when I left the country, I started already asking my grandmother questions, because when my grandmother died, she was in her early 90s. So when she started to hit them 70s, 80s, I realized like, hey, we might be on borrowed time. Like, this is a blessing and we don't get to say when the day, and she's already in, where most people don't make it to. So I started asking her questions that I always wanted to know, and I started having this relationship with her and documenting, taking pictures with her, making sure she's taking pictures with my sons and all of that kind of thing. But what really hit me before August of last year was a conversation that I had with her in February when she was here, because I noticed that, she wasn't quite the same. She wasn't as active, right? So she used to watch her Judge Judy. You don't interrupt her Judge Judy, okay? She, she don't care if the phone ring, whatever. She's gonna watch her Judge Judy, and because she only liked Judge Judy, she watched it on YouTube, where she could watch it back to back, no commercials, okay? So she didn't play by Judge Judy. Another thing she used to do was she used to do her Sudoku, right? She's always doing the little puzzles, so she kept one of those books with her in a ink pen. So she was that good at ink pen, right? And my grandmother was a twin. I'm named after her twin. So my grandmother's name was Wertner, and my middle name is Wanella after her twin, right? We're all Libras, all three of us. Okay. And one thing she was going to do was be on the phone with that twin all throughout the day. They're going to wake up and pray together. They're going to call each other through the day, and they're going to end the day with each other. Well, I noticed when she was here in February, I don't even know where her phone was. She never picked up the phone. There was no Sudoku. She didn't ask to see Judge Judy. In fact, most of the time she was asleep. And when she woke up, all she was doing was using the bathroom or eating. And we were hell pressed to get her to eat, right? So I asked her about her decrease in activity. And she said something that changed the way I'm looking at my life now at 53. And what she said was, I got to a point where being lazy was all right with me, right? So I didn't want to do anything, so I just didn't do it. She said, but when people started asking me, to go here and go there, and I didn't feel like it, but by the time I wanted to, it was hard for me to crank back up. Wait, what? Crank back up. So that sat with me. So when she left here, this plane of earth and this plane of existence in August when she died, one of the things I thought about was how in my life I've gotten to a point of inactivity. This is my second time living in Mexico, so I don't do all the tours anymore. I don't go out on the strip as often. Most of the time I'm at home. I live 3 blocks from the beach, but I don't really go to the beach. I don't really like God's glitter. You know what I'm saying? I really don't like sand. But I love, the water. I love the sky over the water. I can see that from my rooftop. But I noticed I'm not really actively doing anything. So it made me think of Newton's law. Things at rest tend to stay at rest. That was my grandmother. And things in motion tend to stay in motion. So I went to that bucket list and I said, we like traveling. We like living in different places. Let's go to the bucket list of travel and see where we want to go. At first, I thought it was going to be Europe. But then I said, oh, no, you wanted to go to Asia. So let's go to Asia. That's the furthest away. We're going to start there. And then I started looking in Asia. Where do I want to go? It's all in Southeast Asia. And I said, looking at their visas, you can stay in certain places 30 days, certain places 60 days. So I decided I'm going on tour. And let me tell you, it's nothing like an upheaval from low activity than when you got to move around almost every 30 days, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we like to get in motion so we can stay in motion. Because although I have a hereditary trait where I'm most likely to live to close to 100, but in what condition, right? In what condition?
Right.
So that's my story of grief, and how I'm looking at things differently since the death of my grandmother. Um, yeah, like I want to be in motion. I want to be living life, not existing to my hundreds, because I'm determined to make it to 100. My girl didn't make it to 100, but I'm gonna show her how to do it. So
Yeah.
my goal is to make it there, but in good condition, riding the wheels off this thing.
I love that. I love that, and I love the fact that you actually applied the Newton's laws, right? Of staying in motion, and object in motion will always stay in motion. And
Yes,
the fact that you learn from your grief, right? Because I don't think a lot of people really understand that, like, grief is a movement. You have to
yes,
allow grief to move, right? And it would take you in different places, but it also changed your whole mindset from watching and going, having to go through what you was going through, right? And going, you know what, I want to do a little bit more,
yes.
right? And I want to pose this question, because I know we talked about it before,
Okay,
and I want to dive deeper into it. Why do you
okay.
think most people get into that mindset of, saying, as they get older, they don't want to go out and do those things anymore? Like, they get, as you said, what your grandma said,
Mhm.
she got used to being, not wanting to go up and go out anymore. Why do you think that is?
I feel like we, especially as Black people, right? I feel like a part of the trauma that we go through is we always got to be in motion just to survive and to make money. We always got
Yeah.
to be in motion to survive, and we always got to be doing something. And most of us, we don't have just one job. We got a job and a side hustle. If we have a business, we working more hours in that business than we ever did on a job. So as Black people, I feel like we're always in motion, even if we're just moving from spaces where we're not wanted. We're always in motion. And so when there comes a
Mhm.
time when you've worked hard and you've built something that allows you to slow down a little bit, you might can get carried away with that slowdown, right? You've done things in a way to where there's not much required of you. There's only left what you want to do. So quite like me being in Mexico, I've done all the things I want to do in Mexico. It's not really much I want to do. People come visit me and they want to go see Chichen Itza and this and that. I've seen all that. I'm not excited about that. So because I'm not finding new things to be excited about, to put myself in motion, I'm not in motion. So I think it's kind of like that
Mhm.
in your life. Once you get to a certain point, maybe you've done the things that were motion related, and now you get the rest. But then don't stop. You might can quiet it down, or maybe the motion gets transferred to something else. But I don't think that. I mean, I really feel like within our people, it's a luxury to rest. It's a luxury not to hustle,
Mm.
and we may take that luxury a bit too far. I got you
I can
thinking.
relate to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that, right? Because most of us will spend majority of our life, including me, in survival mode, right?
Yeah.
And so when you get beat up as much, so
Mhm.
much out of life, if you get you get tired, and you tend to go, I don't want to do it anymore, right? Because, and it took me a long time to have to change this mindset as well. Dr. Chachi, thank you for hey Shay, that's for you, Shay.
Patsy.
Dr. Chachi chimed in on it. Yeah. So what happens a lot of times, I believe, is that at some point we just go, you know what? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth the continuous fight on a day-to-day basis, right? And having to deal with not only what the world is throwing at you, but what
Mhm.
people are throwing at you, right?
Yeah.
And I think, when people do get the opportunity to sit down and catch their breath and have a moment of peace, so to speak, right? That quietness, I think it becomes addictive because it's different, right? And
But you
so
know
one of the
what?
things that
I wonder if it's not just, you know, that it happens to be that. I think it's because of our culture of being where we're not wanted and in a constant state of trauma as Black people, it actually
right,
becomes our
right.
goal from a young age. If I can just be still, I can't wait till I don't have to work anymore. I can't wait till I can just do what I want to do, right? I think it becomes a goal. Again, I think we associate it with that luxury because guess what? People who don't work, either they're a bum, but if they are not working and they got everything they need, then that's what we all want to do is not work and not move
Mm-hmm.
too often and you know be all right, be out of survival mode. I think it's actually a goal. And we just don't understand that when we hit that goal, it's supposed to be about doing the things we wanted to do. It's not supposed to be about doing nothing at all.
Right, right. I think one of the biggest things, and then, I totally agree with what you said. And I want to add to that because as you were saying it, I reflect on my life now. I have continuous goals, right? So every day I got something going on, and throughout the day I have different things going on. Like I know I have a schedule. I have a
Mhm.
7 day, a 7 day, 365-day week schedule, right? And so I know from the time that I get up in the morning what I'm going to do, the people I'm going to be talking with, what I'm saying, the time frames and things like that. So I'm constantly doing that. Now, I am guilty. I am guilty of once I got to a certain point, as we talked about my grief journey and things like that, I did get to a point to where I didn't have any goals. I didn't have any direction, right? I was so
Yeah,
tired.
yeah, yeah.
I was so tired. I was so worn out and beat up and everything else that I didn't see the other side of it. I didn't. And to be honest with you, I didn't want any more, right? Because I didn't think it was going to get any better. I really didn't. And I think we're having that sort of mindset. And I do run across, as someone who works with a lot of men, I run across a lot of men that are just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so tired of life just lifing on me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That if they had the ability to have grown up in a household to where, what I'm saying, you had people that had businesses or starting businesses or doing something in the world, so it may change all of that. But that's very few and far in between, that people do get that privilege. Most people I knew grew up in the projects. You know what I'm saying? Now that's no excuse. I've seen people come out of projects. I was one of them that came out of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think most people get stuck into that because we don't see the green grass, right? We see the broken glass. We see the rundown houses. We see the people out there on the corner, you know what I'm saying? The alcoholics and the drug addicts. We see the drug dealers and the pimps and the gangsters, right? This is what we get used to. So, and I think that becomes our norm, right? It becomes a normal. But it does take individuals like yourself to come in there and go, hey, we got to get
Yeah.
out of this, right?
And that's where it's crazy because a lot of people see grief as totally a negative thing. But the
Mm-hmm.
whole purpose is to be a disruptor. A whole
Yes.
purpose is for it to be a reminder. The whole purpose is for you to rethink and reanalyze and make different decisions if that's what you want to do. It's shaking
Mm-hmm.
things up to give you another chance to make things differently if what's going on is not working. It's a reminder. A lot of people who, and it's crazy because a lot of people who they hear somebody die, they don't even know that person, right? And they
Right.
cry or they react or they go into grieving. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the person that died. It has to do with the similarities of that person to their life or the lives of someone who they love, because it's meant to be a disruptor. It's a reminder. Hey, did you call that person? Are you showing love every day, or are you waiting for events to where it's too late?
Mm-hmm.
Are you living the life that you wanted to live, or are you going to wait until it's too late? One of the things I did when my grandmother died was me being in Mexico and the funeral being in Alabama. I did not go to the funeral. Now, I didn't go not because I couldn't go. I didn't go because I made a choice not to go. because I got intentional about telling the people that I love them. I got intentional about showing people that I value them. I am intentional about my relationships. So when my grandmother died knowing I loved her. She died with me knowing she loved me. I didn't need closure that was a traditional funeral around a whole bunch of people. That's not the closure that I needed. I had no guilt having to do with my grandmother. I didn't have any negative feelings that made me feel like, oh, I have to go see her one more time. I don't necessarily want to see her like that. Last time I saw her, we were in bed talking, giggling, and laughing,
Right.
So I want to keep that. And so what I have come to do as my own tradition, instead of going to funerals when I don't need that type of closure, is I gather my text messages. I gather my photos, and I have a good old time just reminiscing. And that's the way that I'm going to say goodbye my way. Because I don't have to be there where everybody acting a fool. I don't have to be there with the people who do have guilt. I don't have to be there with the people who just came to be nosy. I don't have to subject myself to those things. And so, I challenge people, when you go to funerals, why are you there? Are you there for your closure? Are you there for somebody else's closure? Are you there for some support for somebody? Do they have other support where you don't have to be the one to be there to give that support? So, we have to be very intentional about the things that we're doing with our lives, or when the next grief is going to be a grief of us and we never got to do any of these things. We never controlled the flow of our life. And I mean, at the end of the day, as far as we know, we only get one of these things we call in life. And so you don't want to live it on other people's terms. You have to be intentional about that. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. Yeah, I had a good old time because me and my girl had fun. So I don't need nobody weighing me down because you still owe my grandma money or because you didn't do it right. I don't owe my grandma nothing but love. And so me and my grandma had a good time. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I gained an angel, and that, as far as I know, I'm going to see her again and I'm all right with it. But even if I don't, we had the best time here on this here earth. And so, I didn't need that for my closure at all.
And I totally agree. I totally agree with that, because I never went to my dad's funeral. I didn't go to my younger brother's funeral because I had already talked to them, right? I was there when my dad was in the hospital and spent time with them, and we had taken some time before he went in to start rebuilding that relationship from father and son, and also, between siblings as well, right? So, and it was nothing that we wasn't afraid to tell each other. Hey, I love you. Hey, man, like, and we talked about a lot of things that we didn't get to do when I was younger because I was very distant, right? So we spent that time catching up. So when they passed away, I was like, no. And I realized there was a lot of people that was upset with me. Hey, man, this is your father. This is your brother. Why aren't you here? Right? I was like, because I don't need to. I don't need to be there. This is for y'all.
Their expectation, right? We have to learn to shirk those expectations off. Right. If we don't need it, then we don't have to participate in it. Right. It's not just about the people that want you to do stuff.
And it's crazy because I didn't do that with my mom. My sister got mad at me. She was like, hold on. I was like, hold on, baby girl. Like, I don't know if you know this or not, but ever since I touched down, I never left the hospital. I was there. While y'all went home and things like that, I was there. I was there from the time I landed to the time that she passed away. I was there holding her hands. I got to say my goodbyes, right? And so now here's where that reverse Uno card comes in, where I got to see other people doing it. Because when my son passed away, although I was in a hospital and things like that, I felt that we were holding a tribute for everyone else that didn't get the chance to say goodbye to him. So I totally agree with what you said. I was looking at everybody like, wow, like this is crazy. But the turnout was huge. And I was like, and I think that's what inspired me to want to go out and make more friends. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because my son at the age of 8 years old, he had over 240 people at his tribute. I was like, I don't even know that many people. So he inspired me. I was like, I'm gonna go out. I want to meet more people, right? Because in a way that it was cool it was so wonderful to see so many people show up for such a sad occasion. But also, everything that you said, I reflected on. I was like, wow, it wasn't even for me. It was for them.
Mm-hmm.
It was for them. And I fell victim to that person. I became the person that everybody came to for my loss because they were hurting, right? And there was many times where I was just like, I'm too drained for this, right?
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I did take the initiative to be able to walk with them as they went through their grieving process. Although I didn't understand it, right? Because no one ever taught me, right? No one ever said, "Hey, this is the way you're supposed to do it," and things like that. But I had the chance to be able to begin the process of who I was becoming.
Okay.
Right. So being
I'm gonna
able
tell you,
to,
I can respect that, but then what that makes me think was, were you getting what you needed at the time for your own version of the grief, or were you forced to be there for other people?
well, in a way, yes, on both of them, right?
Okay.
Because again, like if you look at the work that I do now, I'm sitting, I'm able to have these conversations with Shay and saying so many other amazing people, right? See, it's part of the process. I may just view life just a little bit different from most people because this is what I do. I'm effective in this lane of grief and helping men and things like that. So yes, in a way, yes, I was getting what I needed for them because I needed to understand, right? I needed to understand what they were going through in order to do what I do now. But also, was I getting what was, was I the person that, yeah, I was that person too. So it was, it was.
I can respect that. I can respect
Right.
that because you're saying that it's your purpose. Now, what I'm
Right.
going to tell you is it's not my purpose. And I've learned as a Black woman to serve from an overflow, right?
Right.
Stop dipping in my cup, stop sacrificing. And so I need to go through my own grief. I don't want to make you feel better about me not feeling. I don't want to do any of that. I want to feel what I feel. I want to get to a point to where I want to talk about it. And so I was very explicit with my instructions with people. I was able to tell people, even publicly, hey, my grandmother, passed away, and everybody know how I feel about my grandmother, right? Everybody knew how I felt about my grandmother. And then they would say, I'm sorry, whatever. Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. And I would let people know, hey, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Don't check on me. I'll let you know. I know you love me. I know that you're gonna want to see if I'm okay. Check on me in other ways, because what I understand about grief was that I can finally be having a good day, and you just being you, loving me and wanting to check on me, asking me how I'm doing, and that one good day that I really needed to stay a good day is now not a good day because you asked me how I was doing. And it's okay that I don't want anybody to ask me how I'm doing because I'm just trying to process. I'm trying to make it. And I don't want to have to self-regulate me and you. So let me just self-regulate me for a while. And then I can come back and tell you, hey, now I'm at a place where I don't mind talking about it more. I don't mind you calling in and checking. I had one friend who, she, I'm that strong friend. So she just kept, hey, how you doing? I was like, don't do that. So she got on a plane and just came here. She's like, all right, you don't want me to say anything? Then I'm just gonna come see for myself that you are all right. So shout out to Tay Lee of Birmingham, Alabama. Get you a friend that even when you're a strong friend, they're gonna respect your boundaries, but still come and make sure that you're all right. I mean, she came here, all she did, we went to eat, what I'm saying? We talked about other stuff or whatever, but she was able to see for herself that I was okay, even in the times when we were not on Zoom or I was not on the phone. She was able to be here, around the clock and see, okay, I see her. She all right. Okay. So she stayed here about 3 days and went on back to Birmingham, Alabama. But it's okay to have your boundaries. It's okay to tell people that this is not something you want to do. It's okay to tell people, hey, I'm having a good day. I want to stay having a good day. Let's not talk about it today. Like, it ain't gonna go nowhere. The grief is gonna be there. I'm gonna deal with it, but can I have a good day today? So yeah, I feel like it's okay to have boundaries, and those that love you will understand, and they won't care anything about it. And those that push, please understand that's more about them than it is about you. Because if it was about you, they would respect your wishes and your boundaries.
Well, I love that you said it, and mad respect for that, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I see it on both spectrums.
Mhm.
I see it on both spectrums, and that's the reason why I love it so much, because everybody's entitled to do it the way that you need to do it, and there's no right or wrong way to do it, right? Set those boundaries if that's what you need to do, right? You know, and but you know, everybody's going to experience it their own different way, right? You know, and it's a matter of being able to walk with those individuals that need it the most.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you brought up being a strong person, because a lot of times what people would do, right? If they don't have those boundaries and things like that, what people would do when you're going through something, they will always remember you being a strong person. So it's really hard for them to see you going through that, right? Because
Yes.
you may be struggling, right? You know what I'm saying? I watch people. I know when to step in, I know when not to step in, right? You know what I'm saying? So I read the person. I'm not trying to read the room. I'm trying to read the person that I know that is impacting the most.
Yes.
And
And let me
and I
tell
go,
you, even though I'm a strong person, I still hadn't, and even though, my grandmother's in her 90s, you know what I'm saying? She ate the spring chicken and all the things, even though she know I love her, I know she loved me, I still gave myself what I call space and grace. I had no idea how I was going to react. And so I told people, hey, this is what has happened. I'm probably going to take tomorrow off. I'm just going to give myself space. I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't know how I am right now. I'm just going to make sure I feel the feels. I'm going to give myself space and opportunity to feel it. And I'm going to give myself grace for if I can't meet some deadlines or I can't go do this like I said I was going to do. And so I'm going to ask you for grace, also. And I think that is, again, like Dr. Tachi said, many people, grief looks differently on different people.
oh yeah,
And
it's
you
supposed
never
to.
know. Like you could be somewhere thinking you're all right and have a whole breakdown. So I'm gonna leave space for me to have a breakdown. I mean, guess what? I'm gonna be all right if I have a breakdown. That's gonna be a part of the release. So I
Yeah.
love it. One of my
So
friends, one of the things that she did for me was she shout out to Tashana Baker. She bought 2 massage sessions for me because I had shared with them. I said, I don't know if I am holding grief back or am I dealing with it well. I said, I even went into Chat GPT and told it what I was doing. And it was like, is this normal? And it was like, no, you're just healthy, healthy boundaries, healthy. I was like, okay, cool. But she said, you know what though? She said grief and emotion still lives in the body. So I'm gonna buy you 2 massage sessions, to kind of get that thing worked on up out of there. So I know you're doing everything on your part, and I just want to do this part for you if you allow me, to help work it on out of there, so that you can go ahead and process it well. So that's another thing that people don't understand. We hold stuff in our bodies and it manifests physically. That's where a lot of the dis-ease and disease comes from. And so some of that, we got to work that stuff right on out of our body. So it might be out of your brain. You might feel okay emotionally, but physically you might have to work it on out. So that's something people need to think about too.
Well, and that, you know what, I love that you said that, because I've been, that's part of the thing when I talk with people. I go, have you ever gone to the doctor because you've been having these symptoms and you think that something's wrong with you and things like that, and you go there and they can't figure it out? You ever realize that, what I'm saying, like, if you're not taking the necessary steps to grieve properly, what I'm saying, you're not even paying attention. This is how it shows up, right? And so you ever hear this phrase from people from different countries? They go, you Westerners don't know how to grieve properly, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to grieve.
Yeah.
And I dove deeper into that, and what I found out, because it's always fascinating in different cultures how they do things, but the one thing that's always been very direct across the board was movement. And so I attended a ritual in Africa, and it was a grief hike, right? You know what I'm saying? You go into Paris, you hike through Paris, you go through the mountains, you end up in Africa in one of the villages on top of in the jungle, so to speak. And what they did, once you got there, there's like people there. You got people, you know what I'm saying, getting prepared, they're getting the food out and things like that. And people are starting to bring their drums, etc. out, right? And once nighttime comes, they begin to play. Now the goal is this is how you're supposed to do it. So
Okay.
the grief moves through your body. Once the
Mm.
drums, once the music starts, you get to dancing, you don't stop. Now this can last. This can last anywhere from three days to 2 weeks, however long it takes. But the main thing is that you're supposed to do it until you can't do it anymore, right?
Okay.
As long as you got energy, yeah, you gotta get that out of there. Because what they're doing, the vibration and music is the key to everything. It's the vibration, it's the frequency that's helping move it through your body, right?
Yes.
And this is what they call grieving properly, because what it does, it empties you out, it puts you in a more open spiritual place, and the people who are affected directly from this, they go on what you call a connective or a spirit walk, where they're able to go and reconnect with the energy that's left behind from the people,
Oh,
right,
I
that
love
they lost. And I found that to be very fascinating,
Mhm.
because once you do it, you realize the benefit of it, right?
I love that.
And it's not about it's not about what people think it is. It's so much deeper than that. And so, and I
You
think
want me
that's
to share another tradition that's not what
yeah,
people think it is? And that is me being in Mexico. You know, we do Day of the Dead. And
yes,
people
yes.
think that just because they have on the Katrina makeup with the skulls and stuff, that it's Halloween, because it's right there on November 1st and 2nd and 3rd. And so they
Mhm,
think it's the Mexican Halloween. When it's not. It's actually that time of year when they reconnect with their ancestors.
mm,
And so I love having been here and being a part of that. And now I have an ancestor that I can add to that practice living in Mexico, because basically what they're doing is they're honoring their ancestors, they're reconnecting with their ancestors, they're treating their ancestors like they're here for a day and a night. They set places for them, all the things. And some of them go kind of deep, where they go to the grave and they dig them up and they clean the bones every year. And so it is. Yes, Dr. Tacha, it is so beautiful. And let me tell you, if you want to really understand, there's a cartoon, a Disney cartoon, I think it's Disney, but it's definitely a cartoon that'll help you understand Day of the Dead better. And it's called Coco. Coco. It's a whole cartoon about Day of the Dead, and it helped me to understand the nuances of it when I understood that that is not Mexican Halloween. Like, we are so out of it on the outside, looking in on people's culture, not understanding what things are. And so, see, Dr. Toxin says she loves Coco. See, Coco explained it to me. And it's funny because this Day of the Dead, I finally had an ancestor, and I had to ask one of my Mexican friends, because one of the things they do is they have a picture that they put on display. And I asked her, does the picture have to be a printed picture? Because I don't have a printed one of my grandmother. All the pictures are in my phone. And she was like, no, you can use your phone. It's just about the visual. It's not necessarily that it has to be printed. And so I love that I was even able to do a digital Day of the Dead. So yeah, we need to get into these cultures, because some of these cultures that are older than, Methuselah, okay, there's a
mm,
reason why they do what they do. And it's a healthy reason. And because we've been so indoctrinated with things that make us lose touch with culture, period, not just our culture, but great cultures, period, that we're missing a lot of stuff that is supposed to be there to help us stay healthy and moving in life.
mhm.
We're missing a lot of that, and we have to get back in touch with that. And if I think a lot of people are not necessarily called to Africa, even though they're Black, and that's okay. If you're not called to, find a culture that is deep rooted, that has these things in it about health and way of life and view of life that can help you. Why you think that Tina Turner became Buddhist? You know what I'm saying? Just find something
Mhm.
that's going to work for you, that helps you to work these things out in a healthy way. Because if you only live the African American experience, then the answer is consumerism. Spend more money, right? They don't give you
Yeah.
healthy ways to deal with stuff. The answer is, when you're sick, to treat the symptom, not get to the root of it. So find some kind of culture that speaks to you and resonates with you, and indoctrinate that, so that you are healthy and you are dealing with things in a great way, including grief.
See, I love that as well because as you was talking about that, I'm a firm believer in understanding different cultures, right? And how they do things and being able to apply that into the things that I go through in my day-to-day life, right? And the challenges or the emotions that I may be experiencing. Now, here's where it differs from me because as being a man, I had to learn how to articulate what was going on. I had
Yeah.
to go, okay, what is this emotion, right? Because no one ever taught me these things, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And what happens a lot of times, because these cultures are there, but we don't pay attention to them. People in general, when we go through something so deeply emotional, right? We begin to pick up traits from what we see from other people. Like,
Yeah.
say for instance, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he he said that with the girlfriend that he had at the time, he had lost his best friend. She didn't know how to comfort him. So what she did what came naturally to her was to offer herself to him in order to have that connection to help him move through the grief. And sometimes I think that's where the misunderstanding lies, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not about that. It's not about, you know what I'm saying? It's not about giving yourself to someone because this is all you know. It's about having different tools, understanding different cultures, applying
Mhm.
those things that benefit you. And like you said,
Yeah.
like here's where I separate the African American, you know what I'm saying, from everything else. Because for one, like I've never been to Africa, right?
Mhm.
Well, I've been to Africa for that, but anything like that, but I wasn't born there. I'm
Yeah.
American, right?
Mhm.
So there's things that I have to learn as being a black man in America,
Yes.
right? And I think another challenge is that so many people want to have a reason to be mad at other people
Yeah.
they want to have a reason to misunderstand them, right?
But you know what? It's not even just that either. It is that. And some people don't feel like their grief is enough compared to your grief, right?
Oh,
Like,
oh
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because everybody knew that my grandmother, that was my girl. They knew that when I lived in Georgia, even though I was from Alabama, when I went to Alabama, she was my last stop every visit, right?
Hmm.
Everybody knew how I felt about her. So some people who grieved her felt like they couldn't grieve around me because my grief was worth more than theirs. Everybody has their own grief. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And so stop trying to put it at degrees. We don't just grieve differently. We have a right to grieve in different degrees. And so I think it's that too. Some people will hold it in for somebody else when we're all supposed to be processing and letting it out.
right, right. It's a connective thing, right?
Mhm.
I'm glad that you brought that up because what a lot of times here's why people back off so much, right? Or they try to compare what they're going through to what you're going through. Grief
Mhm.
is based on the relationship that you have with that individual. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that, I've been around people who cold-heartedly said, I got nothing for this person, right?
Yeah.
And then it can be another sibling that they have and go, what do you mean? Like this person was what I'm saying, was the cat's meow and things like that. It's relational, right?
Yeah.
It's the relationship that you have. The relationship that you have with that individual may not have been the best. That's why you feel the way that you do, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And I've looked, and this is the crazy part. I've been around triplets, and each
Mhm.
and every last one of them has something different to say about the parent or someone that they knew, right? Although they're triplets, you would think
Yeah.
that all their relationships would be the same, but they all had something. They were all like, I don't like that dude. I'm glad that he's gone. I'm glad that she's gone.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And this another, and you have that one to be like, oh man, I'm gonna miss him so much. You know what I'm saying? I miss when they used to take me to go get the big suckers from the carnivals, you know what I'm saying? And when I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss him too. I'm gonna miss the miss the roller coaster rides. Everybody's gonna have something different to say, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make him right or wrong, but what happens, Shay, that I think a lot of times is that we live in a world to where people want to be a victim. And in order to be a victim, they have to get into competition. Now, this is very common
Mhm.
between men, right? This is very common between men. I can't speak from the woman's perspective, so I'll get your thoughts on this after I say this. You know, when it comes down to men, we want so much to be masculine. We don't want to show that weakness. So, you know what I'm saying? If I go and tell someone, hey man, I'm really struggling, you know what I'm saying, with this loss over here, you know, and be like, oh well, you know, you won't even know what it feels like until you've lost this person, right? And I'm not doing it to compare my loss to them. I'm just trying to open up the doors so maybe I can have a healthy conversation, you know what I'm saying, to be able to understand a little bit more about what I'm going through. And it becomes, oh, I gotta outdo you. You can't be going through something worse than what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Which in
But
turn,
but sometimes, let me ask you this.
yes.
Sometimes people are just trying to let you know they feel like they understand, right? Um,
Mm,
Sometimes, not all the time.
yeah, yeah, okay,
Even
sometimes.
if that's the case, it still might not be helpful. I think we have to get in the habit of asking people what do they feel like they need right now. Like, do you want to just talk about it? You want a solution to it? You want to know if I understand it? Like, what is it that you feel like you need right now? So that we can answer back in the best way. But in the moment, we just want to help the best way that we can. And so
Mhm.
sometimes we're just trying to let you know that we think we understand when all you've done is made it about you now telling your story instead of just listening to their story. And it's sometimes hard because we were never taught that tool of asking people what they feel like they need, and instead of us feeling like, oh, we should know what they need and we should just be ready to give
Mhm.
them what they need. And I feel like the closer you are to a person, the more you make that mistake of thinking when you don't know. So I think we
Yeah,
have to get in the habit
yeah.
of asking people what do they need, because sometimes it seems like a
Mhm.
competition when it's not meant that way, but that person just, they were trying to help, they were trying to identify, connect, and they made it about them in that moment, and it wasn't about you. And so yet
Yeah,
again,
and
now you got to
yeah.
start over trying to find somebody else that you think will listen. Uh, but yeah, men, I think that what you said is true. I also think that because you guys are not allowed to feel emotion or show emotion, that you're also quickly cut off and told to cowboy up, right?
Yeah.
So if they're
Oh yeah.
not saying that mine is worse than yours, then they're saying, "Hey, suck it up."
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to add to that as well, right? Because I think what happens a lot of times, or what people forget a lot of times, is that grief is not something to be fixed. It really is. And sometimes you can do a lot more damage asking the person what they need, because sometimes they don't know what they need. You
Most
have
of
people,
the time they don't.
everybody's different. Everybody's different, right? You know what I'm saying? But you have to be able to read the individual that you're around. My
Mhm.
thing is, one of the things that I've learned to do as I began to, continually walk through this beautiful thing called grief and better
Mhm.
understand it, is that holding space with an individual is a little bit more effective than trying to control the space in that with that individual. So, say
Yeah.
for instance, if I'm coming around Shay, and I know Shay don't want to talk about nothing, look, I'm just going to visit with you. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got to talk because I'm in your world, right? I don't know how to. I don't know how to get you through your grief. All I know is that in this moment right here, Shay, I'm gonna do your dishes. I'm
Mhm.
gonna get your laundry done. Matter of fact, I done bought some lunch. We got some burgers, we got some fries, we got some. I don't need you to do anything, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm visiting with you in this moment. We don't have to do nothing. We can sit up here and watch Twilight. Okay, you know what I'm saying? This is your world. I'm just visiting in it. I think that's where we forget to understand that just visit with that individual. Be there in those moments with those individuals, right? Because for one, when it does come time and you do want to talk, I don't want to miss the opportunity. I don't want
Mhm.
to make it about me, because it's not about me. I came to visit you. This is yours. And I'm not taking nothing. Don't ask me what I want. because no, because don't do that. I'm about to eliminate all of that conversation right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm making it about you. Whatever you need, I'm here for that. But I can't
We
do it
also
until
can't forget that when we're trying to make it about them and we're trying to do what we feel like they want, we need to also be open to look for the signs that we didn't get it right.
oh
So
yeah, I mean,
I
you're
came
not gonna get it
over
right all the
and in
time.
my head, I'm just gonna sit with you and yeah, we're gonna watch, the Twilight and all the things, but that might not be the day I want to watch TV, right? Or that they want to watch
But
TV.
that's why
So
you
just
busy.
be open to, even though your plan was to spend the time and to eat with them, be open to leaving the food and getting on somewhere, right? So that's what I'll say too.
If
Definitely
that's
stop
what
asking
needs to
people
happen.
what they need and just do what you feel like you can do, but be watching for, are you doing the right thing, and respect and be okay with that you're not.
Now, see, and I definitely agree. Now, and the reason why I say what I said is because a lot of times now this is where I'm coming from, speaking like a man, right? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because what happens a lot of times, and I've had this happen too many times for me, where I thought that, you know what I'm saying, oh, I should leave this individual right where, hey, maybe I've overstepped my welcome right now, right? And I read
Mhm.
it wrong. And you know what happened? You know what I'm saying? I had to read about it in the paper.
Mm.
And so, and so for me, it's like I would rather annoy you to let you know that I'm still here
Mhm.
than to walk away from you not knowing if you needed me because there was no words being spoken. See, I didn't understand it before. I didn't understand it before. I have a better understanding now, right?
Mhm.
I would rather annoy you. I really would. I would rather annoy you so you know that I'm still here for you. We ain't got to talk about nothing. We ain't got to even do the Twilight thing. But you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that you're in a good place before I leave you, right?
Understood.
And sometimes you may be frustrated with me. I'm okay with that. I am
Yeah.
totally okay with you being frustrated with me, right?
But
You know what
also
I'm saying?
understand that sometimes when you do that, Tony, that's more about you than it is about that person at the time. Because if it's evident that they are annoyed, then they need space and grace and maybe a
Right,
prayer, and not you be
right.
there, right? So you cannot allow what happened in the past where you read it in the newspaper and you be willing to annoy. That's about you. That's not about that person. We can't forget that. And that's
And
what I
again,
want you
it's,
to
it's
understand.
reading it, it's reading the situation, it's reading it. See, this
It
is the
is.
beautiful thing about grief, right? Because it has these multiple levels that you
Oh,
can explore,
it
right? You know
is.
what I'm saying? So there's no right or wrong way to do it. And again, like understanding that and things like that. Then I've had people come back. I've actually had people come back to me because I have done that. And they
Oh, yeah.
go, why did you leave? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I go, well, I thought you wanted your space. So again, it's a matter of just reading the individual that you would, feeling
It
the energy that they're putting off on you, right? You know what I'm saying? But now here's where I push back a little bit because it's not even about me, right? It's never about me. The work that I do is about the people that I serve. I'm a servant, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's where now in the beginning, before I misspeak, in the beginning, yeah, it was because I was afraid to walk away from that individual because through personal experience, even my own experience, right? You know what I'm saying? I was like, I just want to be the person that I needed, right?
is.
But then over time, as I matured and grew and understood it a little bit more, I realized that it wasn't about me. It's about the people. And so it depends on the path that they're on, right?
It
I
is.
just want to make sure that I'm being effective for them, right? But I
And that's
don't want to
fine.
miss
But
the
also understand that Tony is not a superhero. So Tony's not going to get it right every time, and that's okay.
no, no, no. That's the whole thing. I know that I'm not going to get it right all the time. Just like with yourself. You know this, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to get it right all the time. People are people. We're full of not getting it right all the time,
Look, the
right?
funniest thing to me is as a parent of grown children, you want to know you didn't get something right. Talk to your grown children about your parenting skills.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Baby,
it's true.
it's not for the faint of heart at all. Do you hear
They're
me?
gonna let you know too.
So yeah.
Girl, look, it's a look. That's a beautiful thing about this thing called grief, and you know what I'm saying. In life, you're not meant to get it right all the time. You're not
Yes.
meant to. right? You know
And
what I'm
it's
saying? You're
okay.
meant to
That's
go
what I need
through it.
people to
You're meant to
understand.
stumble a
It's
little bit. You're
okay.
meant to make some
There's no
mistakes.
burden to be perfect.
Right,
We're
right,
human. It's okay. Anything you do out of love can't be wrong.
right.
Period. So even if you got it wrong, people are going to understand that you
There
did
you
it out of
go.
love, and your relationship should allow you to discuss it later. So next time you know what to do. So yeah, I love it.
Right, right. And again, you know, like that's the beautiful thing about it, and the multiple layers. Like you're gonna mess up. Okay. There's gonna be people that's gonna say the wrong things. You may just take it personal. It all depends on the individual.
It
We just
does.
do what comes naturally. It's the connection more than anything else that I believe, right? You know what I'm saying? It's the connection of letting you know that, hey, if you need me, I'm here. That's it. No more, no less, right? You know what I'm saying? And offering what I have inside of me
Mhm.
willingly to you. And tell, because again, we talked about this. I'm just here to walk you to your next destination. When you get to a point to where, you know what I'm saying, if you don't need me around, okay, I get it. I get it. You know what I'm
Look, come
saying?
on,
It's not
Anubis.
personal.
Come on, Anubis. You just gonna welcome to the next to the next destination. That's your job.
That's all I'm here to do. Right?
Okay.
As
I
look,
love
and
it.
that's the beautiful thing about this life. That's the beautiful thing about this life. No matter if you're a parent or a sibling or a child or anything, as you begin to grow, the people that you meet may take off because they have a new path that they have to go walk. It's the experience that you've had with these individuals.
I
You've
agree.
walked them to their next destination. Someone's going to come and walk you to your next destination, right?
Mhm.
And
That's actually a great definition of being of service. I love that, Tony.
right, right. And so once you get them to their next destination, they got a whole new adventure that they got to go on. A whole different adventure that may not include you, and it's not personal. But I've had the time of my life while I'm walking you to your next destination. Because for one, the reality of it is, no matter how we look at it, we're all just passing through.
Ooh,
It's
aren't
the
we?
human experience that we have as we go through. It's the story that we're going to tell when we transition out of this place, right? You know what I'm saying? And we have to go as we transition to our next destination, no matter wherever you want to believe that is, right?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? If you believe in nothing, well, your next destination is nothing. But it's the people that's going to walk with you to nothing that you're going to share this story with. It's we're just human beings having a spiritual experience, right? It's the
Yeah.
stories that we tell. We're all storytellers here, right? I want to be able to tell the story of when I met Shay and was like, man, you don't believe, you're really not gonna believe this. I had the best time of my life just having a conversation as she walked me, as she allowed me to walk her to her next destination. Right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna see about Shay over in Southeast Asia in her next destination, having the
Yeah.
time of her life, right? Think about that for a minute, right? So that's and for me, I have a servant's mind. And you know, and I don't ever want that to change because it's curious, it's beautiful, and you know what I'm saying, and it's messy, but it's also worth it,
Mm.
right? And so now leads me to my next question. You know, do you think that everything that you do in business, you know what I'm saying, actually tells the story of that as well?
It definitely fits in how you describe service, right? It's definitely walking someone from one place to another. It's just that the places are very, they're very defined, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's funny because what I focus on in my business coaching is walking you from one place to another, walking you from where you are to your milestone of your first six figures. And that's why I like the beautiful definition that you had for it, and instantly realize, oh, that's anything of service is walking someone to one destination, from one destination to another. That's a service provider, period. No matter what the
Mhm,
service is, you're taking them from where they are to either where they want to go or where they need to go.
mhm.
And so, yes, in business, most definitely, most of us are doing that same walk, and holding someone's hand to get them there in some form or fashion. So, yes, I do believe that.
Mhm. See, see how relatable that is in so many different aspects, and and that's the beautiful part about it. That's it's just being able to understand that, right? You know what I'm saying, and go, wow, I'm excited. That excites me to see where people end up, who they become, the people that they meet, things like that. It's it's just this unexplainable excitement that I have for that, you know.
You have a
And I
beautiful
know,
purpose, I must say. Your purpose is beautiful.
but so is yours because you just now you realize that you're doing the same thing for other people, right? You out there
Well,
helping
I
people
knew it
become
was deep, but
millionaires.
I knew what I do in particular was deep, right, and deeper than just being a business coach. I knew that, but I never looked at all service, like even going to McDonald's and that customer service is still taking you from one place to another place, until you
Mhm.
say it. Like all service, no matter how small you think and not insignificant you think it is, it's still getting you from one place to another, from hungry to full. I mean, that's
There
still
you
a journey.
go. You know, I have this thing. I have a couple philosophies about it, right?
Mhm.
You can never see the full puzzle if you're inside of it. You have to look
Oh,
outside of the puzzle, and then you begin to put it all together. And pieces are constantly falling on the table, right? And you may be like, hold on, I only had two. Now I got 100 more. Well, think about it for a minute, right? You got 100 more destinations that you got to go. You
but
got
don't you
100 more
agree
destinations.
that grief is one of those disruptors that knocks you off the table to look at the pieces?
It's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it's supposed to do. See, the thing about grief is that it's the memories that you share with that individual that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. Right? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? The lessons that you've learned. You may not have learned the lessons along the way, and it took something, them being taken away from you, to really have that embedded in you. Now you think about it a little bit more, right? Now those things, those good mornings, those I love yous,
Mm-hmm.
those, hey girl, you know what I'm saying? You can't be eating all the candy, right? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to see now it makes sense why these lessons were given to you. You may not understood it then, but it makes more sense now, which makes you more effective in what you do. Because now
Mm-hmm.
you realize you can't get high off your own supply.
Okay.
Think about that for a minute. You can't get high off your own supply. You can't go eat all the chocolate, right? You got to have
Mhm.
money to go back in and be able. It makes sense, right?
Yes.
Nothing is ever wasted in this thing. Nothing, and that's what grief reminds us.
Yes.
Nothing is ever wasted. All everything that you've experienced is part of who you are. It's the love that you had and the
Mm-hmm.
love that you're going to carry.
Yes.
Everything is connected. Everything. And as long as we understand that, it makes it easier to connect with other people where they need you to connect with them and not
Exactly.
make it about you. Like you said, you know what I'm saying? You're just taking a person from one place and getting them to another place. You're walking them to their next destination. That's
Dr.
that's what we're doing.
Tachi
Yes,
said that's why you can't have kids selling candy.
right. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna eat it all just like you did, right? You know what I'm saying? But you learned the lesson. You learned the lesson, and that's what makes it beautiful. It makes the work that
Mm-hmm.
you do that much more beautiful. Having that understanding, right?
It
Because
does.
now you look at it and go, all right, and then it sparks a deeper passion in you, right? You know what I'm saying? You already have a passion, but now you're just like, wow, I can look at it on a deeper level now, right? You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? And that's exciting. That's exciting to see a person go to the next destination, to see the work that you've put in on them to get them there and go,
Mm,
man. And it makes it much more appreciative when they have to go on their own and you just wish them well. Like, I can't wait to see who you become.
exactly.
Right. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And I know, look, we can ramble on. We can definitely ramble on. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and I know you guys. I know you're a busy lady today. You know, and so and with that being said, you know, before we begin to wrap this thing up,
Okay.
um, how can people find you out in this world?
Cool. So I am Shay Cannon, COO, everywhere across social media. And if you are a business that wants more information on how to get to your first six figures, I have a free business mastermind group that is on Facebook. So you can go to shaycannon.info/group and just join us. Join us there.
I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And before I let you go, Shay,
Yes.
first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your journey with us and these laughs and your knowledge and your wisdom. And like it's it was such an honor to have this conversation with you. I can't wait to have many, many more. And for everybody tuning in, her information is on the YouTube channel. Go down there, check out, reach out to her, tell her that you saw her up here. And let her walk you to your next destination. Help you build some wealth in your life. And my next question would be, and I love this question because I love people's answers when I ask this. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
I think that if I had a superpower, it would be able to be invisible. I want to be invisible somehow. Look, let me go and let that introvert take center stage. Let me be invisible. But I one of the things I love is like people watching. I love gathering data. And I don't necessarily want someone to interrupt their pattern because I'm present. So I would love to be able to go invisible to absorb people in their natural state, doing what they would naturally do if they didn't know I was there. So I would want to be invisible. Did I?
Okay,
Did I?
I love the way that you laid that out too, right? Because to watch people just be people.
Yeah,
Without
because
any
my
sort of
preference is
interruption.
for people to be who they are. I don't have to agree
Right.
with who you are. You know what I'm saying? Just be who you are. And I feel like it's becoming a lost art. People are so busy trying to be other things other than who they are. My goal is to walk in every room as myself. So
Mhm.
that's my goal. It's very freeing. I know people who tell me all the time, I wish I was like you. I don't want people to be in that cage. And I also don't necessarily want to disrupt, there's that word again, how people would do things just because I'm present. So I feel like to be invisible, you can get the information you need, not disrupt their life, move on. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to stop anything just because you saw something you wouldn't have seen otherwise. You bank that information and you keep it trucking.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love the individuality of people when they've gotten rid of habits that they picked up from other people, right?
Yes, and
And
deprogram.
find who they authentically are, right? And that takes a lot of work. It does, you know what I'm saying? But that's what we're here for. That's definitely
Mhm.
what we're here for. And with that being said, Shay, again, thank you for coming on the show and having this amazing conversation with me. Hopefully, we get to do some more and things like that. I'm always excited to see where everybody ends up and
Yes.
things like that. And for everyone who's been tuning in, if you haven't already, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel. We got a lot more stories over there. Go check them out as well. Maybe if you enjoyed the conversation and, do me a favor, if you think I'm worthy of it, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification for me so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Maybe, just maybe that these conversations aren't for you, but maybe you know somebody who it is for. Do me a favor, share it along with them, right? You know what I'm saying? And tell them that we're doing some amazing things over here. And with that being said, guys, we're going to close out this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. And we got another daily show coming up for you guys tomorrow. We got some more amazing people. So yeah, go please check it out. And with that being said, guys, love you. Thank you for your support. We're going to see you guys in the next one. Again, thank you, Shay. And guys, have a great day.